Back here on Sportsline, our phone lines are open. Talking Titans tonight as the season comes to the end in the AFC Championship on Sunday. 35-24, the Chiefs advance to the Super Bowl for the first time in half a century. 737-7767, the number. We have lines open for you if you'd like to get on the program. Everton is first up tonight. Hey, Everton, how you doing?
Not bad, Steve, not bad. I certainly enjoy the show. Thank you for taking the call. And, of course, like many others, we're excited about what the Titans will accomplish this season. I will say, though, the one big disappointment I have regarding this last game is that I think we abandoned the run too soon. I think that was your last comment before the break. I think you stay with the winning horse you've got. You don't just let the other team impose their will on you like that. And I think we just kind of played into their scheme of thinking. I think we could have seen a different turnabout if we had given the offensive line a little more time to get the act together. Kansas City has been giving up runs over the season.
Yeah.
So why quit what we've been doing? That's the only big problem I have about the whole scenario, how things turned out. I think we could have won that game. I know Kansas City is hot, but we have proven that we are a legitimate football team. Okay?
Yeah, there's no question about it, Everton. I appreciate the call, and I think you're right. I want to be careful not to criticize too much in this moment because I think Arthur Smith has really pushed all the right buttons, frankly, for 10, 12, 13 weeks with his play calling with the Titans. But I do think there was a level there when the Chiefs scored to go up 28-17 in the fourth quarter that was sort of an, oh my, we've got to get this back in a hurry. And honestly, as you sat there in the stadium, which is always a different experience. There's just different feel in the stadium than when you're sitting at home just watching the game. Oftentimes, you just have a different sense and feel about what's happening in front of you. And it did feel a little bit like that was real danger zone for the Titans, as much as anything, because I didn't have any faith at that point that the defense could get a stop on the Chiefs. So you're down by 11. And you needed a play to happen, and you needed your offense to score every time they had the ball at that point. And time felt like it was running out. So I certainly understood the urgency that the Titans came out with, but with 14 minutes and change left in the game, I do think you could have hung with Henry, at least as part of what you were trying to do offensively at that point. I mean, think about it. Go back 2 weeks to New England. They ran a 2-minute drill at the end of the half where all they did was give the ball to Henry. They've been effective at that, and effective when people know it's coming, and they were effective running the ball in the first half against the Chiefs. 13 carries, 62 yards, nearly 5 yards a pop when the Chiefs were stacking their box against it, and then you were able to use the play action off of that and got some big gains in the first half because of it. I think they could have stuck with it a little bit longer. But I also think it's very difficult to be too critical in that situation. When you're down by 11 in the fourth quarter of the game, conversely, let's think about this. You start running the ball a bunch with Henry, and you get stuffed, or you get yourself into third and long, and then you don't convert, then people are going to ask why you're running the ball down by 11, letting the clock tick off in the fourth quarter of the game. So I think they pulled the trigger on going all pass, all spread, just ever so slightly too quick. But obviously you can say that after the fact when it didn't work out. The bottom line is Derrick Henry had a monster postseason. Monster season. He was the NFL rushing champ. But a incredible postseason, 377 yards in the first 2 weeks in New England and Baltimore. And the Chiefs were able to hold him to half as many carries, 16 he finished with, and just 69 yards. You know, if he could get the production they got the last couple of weeks in terms of carries, and you average the same amount, 32 carries, which is right where he was the last few weeks, you're talking about 138 yards. I think if Derrick Henry gets 138 yards in that game, the Titans are right there. Maybe don't win it, but I think they certainly have a shot at the end of the game if that's the case. But they just couldn't do it. And that third quarter, the way it played out with the Chiefs possessing the football, just changed the complexion of the game and made you feel like time was running out maybe quicker than it was in the fourth quarter, and that led to Henry's lack of usage. And I think defensively the game plan, again, hard to fault it, but as you look back, I think there were a couple things that happened here. Is one, when the Titans beat the Chiefs back in Week 10, Patrick Mahomes was not 100% healthy. He was coming off of a knee injury, and he wasn't as mobile as he normally is and certainly was on Sunday in KC. The Titans in that game with their plan didn't get hurt because Mahomes didn't have quite the ability to hurt them in the way he did in this game. In this game, they got absolutely no pressure, so he had all day to throw, and he will kill you when that happens. You just can't defend long enough on the back end. But also, when they did get a guy to break through and have a little bit of pressure, he was able to use his legs to get away, buy some more time, or scramble. So many scrambles in that game killed the Titans. So one, I think the game plan maybe forgot, that's a weird word because obviously they're aware of it, but didn't account for just how mobile and effective Mahomes can be with his legs. But also, they tried to sort of keep him bottled up and play zone and coverage on the back end a lot of times. In a way, it was a similar recipe to what they did with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. And the idea was, don't let the Ravens or don't let the Chiefs have an explosive play. You know, kick off to them, punt it to them, give them the ball at the 20 or the 25-yard line, play the field position game, and make them drive the field. If they can convert a third down, if they can stay on the field and possess the football, okay, hats off to them for the drive. But don't give them the cheap one. Don't give them the 50-yard touchdown that doesn't make them have to drive against your defense. And obviously in Baltimore it worked. The Titans were able to get off the field a bunch. They forced field goal opportunities much of the game instead of touchdowns in the red zone. That wasn't the case against the Chiefs. Mahomes was brilliant. They converted on third down. They extended drives, and they were willing to drive the field. Now, Mahomes had the touchdown run before the end of the half. That was a huge play and a total turning point moment in the game. And then obviously the killer at the end, the 60-yard touchdown to Sammy Watkins when he got behind the defense. But for most of the game, the Chiefs were content to go 90, 85, 80 yards and run 12 plays to do it. And that's the thing that was most impressive, is this offense that's known for explosiveness was able to actually play ball control and drive the field against the Titans on Sunday. And again, in the second half, what that meant is not just did they build a lead because they put up points, but they also shortened the game because they were taking off time in the process. They wore out the defense. And so then as you're sitting there as a Titan, Arthur Smith in the press box or on the sideline calling plays, the coaches in the press box, Mike Vrabel on the sidelines, it felt like that game was shrinking and you really had to make something happen, and the Titans were just unable to do it. Go back to the phone, say hello to David. David, how are you?
Oh, fine. I have three issues I need to point out.
Okay.
One of them is there was a penalty call. I think it was in third quarter or the fourth quarter. You know, on the left flank of the Titans. You know, close to the end zone. Where the Titan defensive back did not turn his face around, you know, to look at the ball, you know, before he touched before he tried to disrupt the catch. Mm-hmm. You know, and that was called. You know, and that was called on the spot, and that was at the 2-yard line. The ball was placed at the 2-yard line or 3-yard line or something like that. My question is, where was Adoree Jackson at the time? Because the defensive back, I believe, was a rookie placed at that point. Defensive back that made that play. Where was Adoree Jackson at that time?
I think he was out there. I think he was just on the other side of the field.
Okay, then where was our lead cornerback? Our lead cornerback, the guy from Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, it was Logan Ryan. He was also out there. That play you're talking about, I believe, went to Travis Kelce. So it was, it was zone coverage or it was one of the safeties. I forget who actually got the call, but it wasn't one of the cornerbacks who had the assignment on it, and it never would be because you're throwing to Travis Kelce.
Yes, I think that was an error. I mean, that was an error. I mean, Adoree Jackson, should have been placed at that spot, to cover such a throw.
I don't know. I disagree with you on that one, David. I don't think either of the cornerbacks are suited to defend Travis Kelce, especially down by the goal line.
Okay, because of Kelce's size. Okay. The other point I want to make.
Yeah.
The other point I want to make is there was a time that Adoree Jackson ran. I think it was the third quarter. He took the ball and then started running. And they started running parallel, and then one of the Titan defenders, tried to launch at him, but couldn't stretch up to get to him, to get his hands on him, and he fell. So instead of running parallel, the Kansas City quarterback, started running at the sideline, straight north. I think the mistake they make is the way to do it when he starts running parallel is to run parallel with him, just run parallel, give him about 1 yard.
Yeah.
Or so, and keep running parallel so that he just runs out.
There's no question.
Out of the field, instead of launching at him, because if you launch at him and you miss, then he has an open field at the touchline.
Yeah, there's no question, David.
He continued on. That is a strategy they should have stressed, that don't launch in case, because if you launch and miss, then he has an open sideline, open field in front of him, and he continued running, up towards the end zone, which was a big gain.
Yeah, no, there's no question, David, and we got to move along to other callers here, but Titans took bad angles, and everything they did well against Lamar Jackson to prevent him from having runs like that for the most part and keeping him bottled up and contained, they did not do against Patrick Mahomes. They just didn't do it. They took bad angles. They didn't tackle particularly well, and they couldn't contain him. And that was a huge factor in this game, not just the explosive offense that you always talk about him throwing to Kelce and Hill and Watkins and Hardman and all those guys, but Mahomes' ability to extend plays and run with his own legs was a big factor. Go to line 3, say hello to Ken. Ken, how are you? You're on Sportsline.
Hey, how are you this evening?
Good, thanks.
Hey, I appreciate you taking my call. I talked to you once about 2 months ago, and I just wanted to say that the Titans, they did a really good job. They really did. It just came down to the second half, and I agree with some of the things you were saying earlier about not getting away just from running the ball, because it was just sad. I figure another 8-9 running plays mixed in would have really helped out with the outcome, because when you're running that ball like that and you've got the winner for all the yardage, you have to give them a chance. And it'll slow the game down to their side, keep Mahomes and all those people off the field, but they have to be meaningful runs. And that doesn't mean that he has to score. That means he just has to get good yardage, helping the ball get down the field, and then peppering in your passes for 7-8 yards. And I'm not trying to be an armchair quarterback or anything like that. It's just normally that's how it's going to go when you have that type of style for the team. And that's all I wanted to say, really.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Ken, for calling in tonight and with those comments. I think certainly people feel that way about Derrick Henry because he's been such a part of this team. And there's no secret. This was even true in the regular season. The recipe for the Titans' best success offensively was when Ryan Tannehill threw the ball about 20, 21, 22 times a game, and Derrick Henry ran the ball 25 times a game. That was the perfect level of balance for the Titans' offense. Now, in the playoffs, it went to an extreme level, and Henry was carrying it 30 and 32 and 34 times over that 3-game winning streak with great success. And obviously, Tannehill didn't have to do very much. He threw for 160 yards total between the New England and Baltimore victories. But on Sunday, the recipe had to be different because they got that deficit in the second half. Henry only ends up with 16 carries total for the game. Tannehill ends up throwing, I think it was 29 times. That's not the right mix for this Titans offense, but it was unfortunately how they had to play because of the way the game went in the second half. And again, credit to the Chiefs offense and Andy Reid. It wasn't just the explosive plays or the fact that they were difficult to stop that everybody talks about with Kansas City, but they were willing. When the Titans said, you're going to have to drive the field against us, we're not going to give you the home run play, they were willing to do that. Say, okay, we'll take 5 yards. 3rd and 2, we'll throw for 4 yards. We'll just take the first down. We'll win on the next set of downs. The Chiefs were willing to do that, and so they had some time-consuming drives that made it very difficult on the Titans to get back in it. And then you get to the fourth quarter, now all of a sudden the defense has to press because they've got to try to make something happen, and that's how you have a busted coverage. And Mahomes hits you over the top to Watkins for 60, basically ending the game at 35-17. Back to the phones. Hey, Patrick, how you doing?
Oh, great. We're going to talk about Saints now, Saints football. What you think is the future, and what was the bad call you think the Saints, not only they do their stuff and basically they do their stuff in the secondary back there for a long, long time.
Well, Patrick, thanks for the call. I think the Saints are a very good football team. They are actually my biggest surprise of the postseason in terms of when they lost, because I think that's a veteran team that has a great quarterback in Drew Brees, the best wide receiver in the NFL right now in Michael Thomas, a very good defense, a brilliant play caller in Sean Payton, and I think one of the really good playmakers offensively as well when you talk about Alvin Kamara, who came on down the stretch of the season. Maybe the most shocking result, no, I won't even say that. The most shocking result to me of the playoffs, even including the Titans' run, was the Vikings with Kirk Cousins going to the Superdome and beating Drew Brees and the Saints. I truly thought, and we talked to Jared Cook, the tight end for the Saints now, who used to play here in Tennessee. We talked to him after the game when the Saints came in here in Week 16 and beat the Titans. You talked to him after the game, and he was all smiles, and rightfully so. That team had wrapped up their division. They had a home playoff game coming. Looked like they might get home field advantage. That didn't happen. Obviously, they had to play in Wild Card Weekend. But even then, you felt like the Saints were playing their best football and had a great chance to go deep into the playoffs, maybe win the whole thing. And Cook even kind of said as much to us, and it was easy to see it at the time. And to think 2 weeks later on Wild Card Weekend, the Saints would go down at home to the Vikings. And the Titans team that lost that day to go to 8-7 on the year would have won its second straight game by beating the Patriots, and then go to Baltimore to win over the top seed in the AFC to get to the AFC Championship game. I don't think anybody could go back to Week 16 and say they saw that coming. And so that was a total surprise to me. I think Drew Brees is coming back next year. I think you still have a lot of weapons on that offense. Sean Payton is still brilliant, and that defense appears to be getting better all the time. So I don't expect the Saints to go anywhere in the near future in terms of being a contender, especially because, frankly, I don't think that division's all that good. The Falcons, while they played well late, struggled at times this year. Panthers now have a new coach in Matt Rule, and who knows what the Bucs are going to do with Jameis Winston probably moving on from him this year after another disappointing season. Back to the phones, line 2. Hey, Mike, how are you? You're on Sportsline.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. You're on the air.
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I'm disappointed, but to me, I watched the game. When you get up 17-0, they wasn't high-fiving, they wasn't jumping around. They just act like they was had jet lag. Then they changed the game plan. They didn't run Henry enough. The left side of the line is supposed to have the highest lineman in the league. I watched the game. I'd run it back. They didn't play good. They didn't block. Left side. They act like it didn't really want to be there. I didn't understand it. You got to keep Mahomes off the field. So in order to do that, you got to run Henry and keep running. I don't care if he don't score every time, but you got to run him outside tackle. That's where he runs best at. You don't run him straight up the middle when your line ain't blocking good.
All right, Mike. Thanks for the call. Look, we've talked about it. Maybe they gave up on it a little bit too early in the second half, but here's the thing. They didn't have the ball much in the second half, and that's as big of a problem as anything. And again, you have to credit the Chiefs. Sometimes you have to tip your cap. One thing I will absolutely disagree with what the caller just said there is the effort or the want from the Titans. This was not a case, and I rarely think it is in sports, but this is certainly not a case where the Chiefs wanted it more. The Titans went into that game with a good game plan. They battled hard. They didn't really shoot themselves in the foot. Now, there's some plays to talk about. The Mahomes touchdown before halftime, bad angles, bad tackling. That is a back-breaking play. The play that put it away late, busted coverage, that is a back-breaking play. So you can talk about some mistakes that they made, but this was not a game where they didn't want it or didn't put in the effort to do it. This was a team that showed up ready to go. This was a team that battled until the bitter end. They just weren't good enough to beat that team on that day in that stadium. Patrick Mahomes is that good, folks. And there will be woulda, coulda, shouldas you can get to all day long about, well, what if they did this before halftime, or what if they did this on their first drive of the second half, or what if Henry maybe got a few carries in the fourth quarter sprinkled in there? Would that have opened up the passing game more? You can do all that, but it doesn't change anything. The Chiefs were the better team on Sunday. The Chiefs were the best team in the AFC. They are the best offense. If Mahomes doesn't get hurt during the course of the season, they might have been the number 1 seed in the AFC. They might have had the most explosive offense in football. There is no question, having watched those 3 teams who were the 1, 2, and 3 seeds over the last 3 weeks in person, the Chiefs are the best football team in the AFC. They are the most difficult to play against. And by the way, kudos to their defense, because that has always been the Achilles heel since Andy Reid has been there. It's been, you can put up all the points in the world, but the defense can't stop anybody. And if the defense can't stop anybody, can you truly win in the postseason? Well, ever since the Titans beat the Chiefs 35-32 in Week 10, the Chiefs have now won 8 consecutive games, and they're giving up just more than 14 points per game. That is championship-level defense from a defense that nobody considers a championship defense. So props to them for figuring out how to get it done. Back to the phones we go to George. George, how are you?
Fine, doing fine. I just want to make a brief comment. Listen,
I was here in Nashville, Tennessee way before the Titans got here, and if the good Lord is willing, I'll be here after they're gone. They played a good game Sunday, okay? The people that own the football leagues, they couldn't give me $1 billion to play football, to take a chance on getting my neck broke. What good is the money going to do you if you cripple for the rest of your life? But the Titans, I give them credit for one thing. They got out there in the cold, and they tried. They tried. And any person that doesn't play football and wants to complain, you get out there on the field. That's what I say. If you think the Titans didn't do well, you get out there and let me see what you can do. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, thanks, George. Good comments. I'll tell you what, it was absolutely freezing. We had to do our pregame and postgame show and night before show from there at Arrowhead Stadium, Sunday Sports Central, all of that stuff. It was frigid. You were outside for 10 minutes, and you were chilled to the bone. Your toes hurt, your fingers hurt, everything. And you could have all the layers in the world. I had 4 and 5 layers, upper and bottom, on Sunday. And it was still freezing. That's how cold it was. Wind chills below 0 at times throughout the course of the day. During the game, the wind chill was about 5 degrees out there. And those guys went at it with all that pressure on that stage and battled till the bitter end in the bitter cold. That is absolutely the truth about this Tennessee Titans team, which never gave up at any point in the season. A lot of people were putting up the white flag when they were 2-4 early in the year, and they battled their way back to get to the playoffs. And then once they were there, they weren't satisfied. Some people thought they might be, but they were not satisfied just to get to the playoffs. They went in and knocked out the reigning Super Bowl champs and knocked out the 1 seed and got to the AFC title game. Absolutely nothing for them to hang their heads about. And just an example, Kenny Vaccaro, last caller, talked about how he wouldn't go out there and risk breaking his neck or bodily harm for all the money in the world to play in the NFL. Well, these guys sign up for this. They love the game. They love the sport. They love the passion and the bonds that you get with their teammates. And yeah, the money is nice. You're rewarded handsomely to play this game at that level. Money that will put you in great shape and put your family in great shape for years to come. And a guy like Kenny Vaccaro is an interesting story because Kenny Vaccaro grew up with nothing. He had a very difficult upbringing with, a dad who did everything he could for him, but they didn't have a whole lot. They were in tough straits. And his ticket out of that was to go get a scholarship to play football in college and then go from there. And now Kenny Vaccaro has multiple million-dollar contracts under his belt as an NFL player. That doesn't just change his life, it changes the course of his family's life. That's why some of these guys do it. Other guys do it just for the love. That's another thing that Vaccaro would tell you himself, which is why I think he's a perfect example of this and for this team. He tells you right now, if you would ask him, I don't care if I can't walk when I'm 60 years old. Because I love this game and I love the brothers next to me on each side. Now that is a comment that I kind of have to hold my breath on because it's something that I can't fathom. I wouldn't be willing to pay that sacrifice or put that into the game. I wouldn't want to do that. But he understands the risk that comes with it, and he is willing to throw his body into the fight for his team and for his teammates in that locker room. And he did it all season long, and a lot of guys on that roster did it. And they did it again on Sunday, even in a losing effort. Got to take a break. We'll come back. Phone line's still open, 737-7767, the number. Sports Line continues right after this.